my goodness. I got a package. Guys! I got a Red camera. Hey y'all. Welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about why I bought the Red Komodo-X. In this video, I'm gonna build the camera, talk to you about all the accessories I got with it because I didn't end up going with the production pack or the starter pack that Red has on their website. I also wanna talk about my kind of camera journey and what cameras I've used and why I've used those cameras. If you want a cohesive list of everything I got with the camera, you can check it out down in the description. With all that said, let's build a freaking camera. Nice. Ooh. That feels wrong. And there it is. We got a nice little red sticker that I can put on the back of my car. Not gonna do that. These are adapters in case I, get hired to go shoot something in another country. That's never happened. There's an extra antenna in case I want to have like a more maneuverable antenna. That's nice. And then I think the only other things in here are the power supply, which that's a pretty thick brick. This is a really good case. Like, this thing is snug in here. I like this. It's so small. It's barely bigger than the original Komodo. So let's talk a little bit about why this camera, why now, what's going on. I think I've had 4 or 5 cameras over the years. I started 7 or 8 years ago with the Canon Rebel T5i back in 2016 or something. After a while, I upgraded to the Canon 80D, shout out Casey Neistat, and then from there, I went up to the Sony A7 III, and I remember that felt really good because the A7 III had 120 frames per second at HD, it had incredible autofocus, but eventually, in 2020, I upgraded to the Sony A7S III, and that was the last camera that I bought. That was 4 years ago. I've been using this camera that I'm shooting on right now for 4 years, and I'm gonna continue shooting with the A7S III. It's an incredible camera. It's basically the FX3 just without any firmware updates, sadly, because Sony won't give me the firmware updates. But the image is great, the low light performance is amazing. Everything I need is pretty much in that camera. So why have I bought the Red Komodo-X? Let's get out the next piece of gear and I'll talk about that a little bit more. So for power, I ended up grabbing 2 of the Red 98 watt hour mini batteries. The Komodo-X can actually only take mini batteries directly into the camera. If you want to use a full V-mount or a full gold mount or anything else, you're gonna have to get a breakout box and adapter. These Red 98 watt hour batteries are actually the first item on the list that made me not want to get the production pack or the starter pack. I'm pretty sure it's the starter pack that comes with 2 of Red's 49 watt hour mini batteries, but I didn't want to deal with those dying constantly all the time. And then the production pack I don't think comes with any batteries, you just have to add some anyway. The reason I didn't just order some other mini V-mount batteries, honestly, I wanted to open this package and already have batteries. I also already opened the dual charger and the other V-mount battery, so it's on the charger. These look like they're actually just rebranded Core SWX mini batteries, which I'm very excited about because I've used those batteries a ton and I really like them. As far as power goes, it looks like we have a P-tap and a USB on top. With all that said, I am gonna end up getting a breakout box or an adapter eventually, probably Tilta, if SmallRig comes out with one, maybe one in camera. But that brings me to the second reason that I didn't get one of the pre-packaged kits that Red sells. The production pack comes with Red's breakout box, but I really don't like it. First of all, it looks a little bit plasticky to me. I think it looks a little goofy. I don't like the round shape of it, and it also comes way off the camera even without a battery. The IO they chose is great, I love it, but I was just like, maybe I'll save some money and get a Tilta breakout box with like a couple extra D-tap ports and maybe a USB-C. But for now, I'm gonna go mini battery straight into the camera. That's nice. I could put a pancake lens on this thing and literally just shoot like that. How sick would that be? Along with shooting with the A7S III since 2020, I've also been shooting Red cameras since about 2019, 2020. The first Red camera that I spent a lot of time with was the Gemini 5K. I worked at a marketing agency and our in-house video team had a full kitted out Red Gemini 5K with the dual gain ISO sensor, which was incredible because if I needed to bump it to its second base ISO, which I think was 3200, it was the camera body, the DSMC2 top handle that went directly into the port, so no cables, the DSMC2 7-inch monitor that went directly into the port, no cables, a side handle, no cables, and that was all. I just remember using that Gemini with its frame rates up to 96 frames per second at 5K, the big monitor that literally makes you feel like you're watching a movie as you're making a movie, and being like, oh, this feels like filmmaking. And I know we talk all the time how gear doesn't matter, gear does matter, blah, 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 but I remember being like, I think this camera might matter. I think there might be a significant difference between what a cinema camera can do versus a mirrorless camera or a DSLR. Granted, nowadays, that line is a lot smaller than it was in 2020 and especially than it was in 2016, which is incredible. FX3, I don't know if y'all know about this, they shot a whole movie on the FX3. That brings us to the Komodo-X, which is still relatively affordable and I don't think skips out on any of the features. Speaking of no cables, this is the outrigger handle. So, as I was saying, I really love the top handle and the side handle on the DSMC2, the Gemini, that didn't have any cables. I love how clean and concise it is, that you can just go directly into this port. Ooh, this is the good one. I'm even more excited about it than I thought I was, y'all. I do think I have to take the outrigger handle off to put the monitor on and then put the handle back on top of it. I didn't know that. Continuing on from Telegraph, that's a company that I worked at where we had the Gemini. I started working a lot of freelance jobs with my buddy Aaron, and Aaron has always had Red cameras ever since I've known him. He's actually the first person who allowed me to use their Red camera. I notoriously always forget which model of DSMC2 camera he has, but using his camera, using the Gemini, I started to notice like, wow, the image out of these cameras is incredible. The way that it interprets colors, the way that it interprets depth, the color science, the dynamic range, and the highlight roll-off. These Red cameras were some of the first cameras that I used with significantly more dynamic range than any mirrorless or DSLRs I had been using up to that point, which made a massive difference in the way the image looked. I think it just looks deeper. I think it looks better than even the Sony A7siii. You can definitely get the same image. I mean, with 10-bit color now and a solid sensor, the FX3, the Canon C70, the Canon R5, all of these cameras can look like this 100%, but it's just harder to do. I love S-Log3, I love color grading, I love being in DaVinci, but I'm also excited to just be like, oh, maybe I want to shoot something of me cooking and I want to post it that same day and not spend a lot of time on it and not spend so much time that I'm not consistent on YouTube. I'm just gonna start making stuff. Okay, I will say, I found my first gripe. I had already heard about this. They did not resize this monitor for the Red Komodo. So this is the Red V Raptor monitor. And I'm trying to give y'all a good, is that a good angle? Okay, see this? That little lip? It's hanging off over the edge because it's really made to go on the Raptor, which is a little bit wider. It kind of kills the like form factor and the slimness of it, but it's really not that big of a deal. Same thing for the outrigger handle though. I'm gonna put this down. That's nice. Ooh, it folds all the way over. Look at that. That's nice. Let's see, what else is in the bag? We got media. I ended up going with 2 of the Red 1 terabyte cards. These are CF Express Type B, which is really sick. I love that they switched from the bigger CF Express card that they were using on the Komodo because these can also be used in the Raptor. And Aaron currently owns the V Raptor X. So if I'm shooting with Aaron and we need an extra card, I got you, bro. Ooh, a 3-year warranty on a card? I'm doing all the warranties, dude. I can't afford to have this stuff break. Not gonna lie to you. Of course, got the Red CF Express card reader, so you can read the cards. I'm not gonna open this right now. You'll know what it looks like. This, I genuinely don't know what's in this box. So this is the 5-pin to XLR adapter. So I can have some XLR in this camera. I don't actually even have an XLR microphone right now. I'm planning on ordering one soon. But yeah, I'll mount this to the camera when I have it. And then there's a 5-pin audio port on the back of the Komodo-X that I'll just run this cable to. That brings up an interesting thing. This camera only has this 5-pin audio jack. So it doesn't have XLR or a 3.5mm jack for like a normal Rode video mic, which is why I got the XLR adapters for when I get some XLR mics. And I also got this big Ziploc bag of other random stuff. But yes, I did end up grabbing this 3.5mm adapter. It's essentially just a 3.5mm cable that you plug into the 5-pin, and then you can use any other 3.5mm. Wow, say that one more freaking. You can use any other 3.5mm microphone. This is probably the most important random thing you should also get if you're getting this camera. One of the packs might come with this, but I would hate for anyone to get this camera and not have an XLR or a 3.5mm jack and just not be able to use anything but internal audio for a couple days. Other things in the big Ziploc bag. Ooh, I think it's called like the red wing grip. This is just a side handle that attaches to the camera right here, so I can get a little bit more grippage, a little bit more rigging off of it, which I'm very excited about. I am planning on getting a cage for this, whether it's a full cage or a half cage. So I'm gonna kind of look around, see which one looks the best. I don't really want the camera to be much bigger, but I definitely need some mounting points on it because I don't think there are any mounting points. There are these small like M4 mounting points. But yeah, there's no big like quarter 20 or anything like that I could mount. Like a Teradek or I don't know, anything else. Ooh, this fits really snug to the camera. Cool. Now I got a little grip on the side. That's nice. I'm glad I got this. That makes me happy. There's one more thing in the big Ziploc. I grabbed an EXT to timecode cable. I think this is a really specific timecode audio cable, and I just wanted to have an extra one just in case someone on set didn't have one, because I don't think most cameras take this cable for timecode. I think I've really covered most of the why, and I don't mean to ignore the specs. The specs are a big reason behind that. The dynamic range, the frame rates, it shoots 6K up to 80 frames per second. And at first when this camera came out, I was like, that's not really that big of an upgrade. That's not really that much better than the Komodo, but it actually is. The Komodo tops out at 40 frames per second at 6K, which is barely slow motion. This camera, I can throw it in 4K for 120. I can keep it in 6K for 24 or 80. I feel really good about 80. Like I mentioned on the Gemini, I would shoot 96 frames per second all the time, and I think that is a very good sweet spot. Also, another spec I'm really excited about is the autofocus. I know the autofocus on the Komodo is decent. I've heard the autofocus on the Raptor and the Komodo-X are even better. And I'm excited because I'm assuming they're gonna continue giving these camera firmware updates as they develop the autofocus even further. So I'm excited to be able to throw a Canon RF lens on this, put it on a gimbal maybe, and have reliable autofocus. And I'm very excited to see how much better it gets. I think, especially with the Nikon merger, that they're going to really put work into that. As long as they do it through a firmware update and not a whole new camera, I'll be super happy. On top of all those reasons I've talked about, creativity, the specs, the usability, the love I have for the image and the color science and the dynamic range, it's also more studio ready. It has I/O, it has SDI. It's a little bit of a step up from something like the A7S III. This is a cinema camera, and I'm very excited and very thankful and very grateful to everyone who has helped me get here, who has allowed me to use these cameras, who's hired me, who has paid me, who has taught me how to be a filmmaker. And I'm excited to take all of that knowledge and all of that experience and all of that love and time that other people have poured into me and go freaking make something with this. Thank y'all for watching. Thanks for being here. If you liked this video, if you enjoyed it, please hit like down below. I'm gonna be making a lot of videos with this camera and about this camera over the next couple of weeks and months probably. So if you have questions, ask them. But y'all, with all that said, thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out. I'm happy that you could be here for this moment because this is really important to me. But with all that said, I'll see you in the next video.